People who are ghosting other people, have you ever been called out? If so, how did that make you feel? An old ex from college got in touch with me via FB, which was lovely and a tiny bit concerning. Had a great time catching up, getting in touch with old friends from college via this exchange. Seriously, this was the best part of that, etc. His life turned out pretty much as I expected, numerous divorces, presumably some infidelity on his part, etc. Several months into our very polite chats, he suddenly shifts gears hard. He's spouting birther nonsense, trying to get me to leave my husband for him. Literally haven't seen this ex in 20+ years, and no way in hell is that going to happen. I blocked him on social media and didn't think twice about it afterwards. About 6 months later, our mutual college friends start haranguing me about why I'd ghosted the ex while he was deployed in Afghanistan, how dare I ghost a veteran who needed our support, etc. And how hurt my ex was that I'd cut off our friendship. Oh boy, here's the thing. I kept a screenshot of his crap to show my husband. And each time one of my college friends started in with that nonsense, I sent them the screen cap. One of the guys was so pissed, he told my ex that if he didn't stop backstabbing, they'd send it to his current wife. Laughing face, haven't heard anything since, going on 8 years now. I don't expect to. My biological brother was ghosted by the woman his father was dating, who fathered 3 kids with her. I was adopted and so didn't meet my brother until our 30s when I heard this. Apparently our dad was awful, so it's good I was adopted out, but my brother lived through the worst of it. My brother was 14, living with his dad, the girlfriend and the 3 young boys they had together when his dad was killed in a drunk driving accident. He was the drunk. My brother came home from school one day shortly after and she had packed up the whole house and just left without telling him. He guesses because he wasn't her responsibility. At 14 he came back to an empty house. He had to call his grandparents 3 hours away to come get him. Horrible. He built a good life for himself since, but can you even imagine what that must be like? Oh hey, I can answer this. This happened 9 years ago, when I was a teenager. I had started dating a guy who I really liked. He did not like my best friend, and would often make fun of her. I felt like my friendship with her was coming to an end anyway because we were drifting apart, so I didn't stop him. His toxic behavior actually made me start resenting her. Eventually, I just ghosted her. Left her on read. Never hung out with her anymore. We didn't go to the same school, so I just never saw her. She sent me a long message asking why was I not talking to her. Did she make me mad? Did she do something wrong? It was a really heartbreaking message, and I pretty much told her that I felt like we weren't close anymore, that I was in a good relationship and I didn't feel like we were friends anymore. She responded by basically saying she understood with a sad face. I didn't talk to her for almost a year. I'm not sure what the push was. I was still dating the guy, but I missed her and I texted her a very long message apologizing and groveling. That I was wrong and stupid, not sure what came over me, etc. She forgave me. I don't know why. I pulled a really shitty move and I know I did it when she was at a low point. I'm so extremely grateful that she decided to give me another chance. We're still best friends to this day. But her confronting me when I initially ghosted her was absolutely miserable and heartbreaking. I still feel like such a piece of shit for it. Hey there, are you subscribed yet? Please do. Also leave a like on this video to help out the channel. This happened recently. I had a friend I had known for 25+ years. We wound up at the same company and realized we lived very close. She was all into office gossip and talked trash about people I liked. I asked her to stop. Any obstacle I was facing was dismissed because she had been through worse. When I needed to talk to someone about personal struggles I was having, she would talk over me and change the subject to her issues. This went on for a few years. I would hang up after talking to her and question why I bothered. Finally, I had enough. I ghosted her and after few months, she reached out to me via text. I replied and told her why. I was not cruel, just honest. Now I am, mean and hurtful. I blocked her and am not regretting this at all. I think about her and hope all is well. I just needed to sever the ties. The real ghosters are ghosting this thread. I'm currently ghosting 2 friends. They are a married couple that wanted to bring me into the relationship. It didn't end well and after 2 months of not speaking to each other, they reached out again. I was willing to re-establish only friendship. But they still were pushing for me to be romantic with the wife. I was pretty uncomfortable and felt anxious about it, especially after the fallout, and decided for everyone's safety and well-being, I needed to block them. They sorely lacked adequate communication for a 3-way relationship and were pretty manipulative with me and used my naivety and trust in them to get what they wanted. Sometimes, ghosting is the answer. Not always. If there's a chance to discuss it rationally, then do it. But if you don't have that chance, ghost. Edit to add. I consider this ghosting because I cut contact without an explanation on seemingly good, in their POV terms. I've always thought that is what ghosting was. The only time I expressed I wanted their friendship was when we initially reconnected after the fight. After that, they began pursuing me again and I decided to completely block them without talking to them about it further. 90% of people who ghost have an entirely different version of events. 2 years ago I met a woman online. After dating her for 2 weeks, my father passed away. I told her up front that I am not in a good place emotionally, wasn't comfortable sharing my grieving process with someone I had just met, and that I couldn't promise I would still be open to dating anyone in the near future. She called me out for ghosting her a month later. I was recently ghosted by a guy I'd been seeing. He actually reached out and apologized after a while, so that was nice of him, but it doesn't take away how much it hurt. My way of thinking is if someone ghosts you, let the dead rest. No point in chasing after someone who doesn't want to be chased. I'm glad you are enjoying this video. Before we continue, don't forget to like, subscribe and leave a comment. When things aren't going well in my life, I turn inward and isolate myself. I'm not good at receiving support and therefore I avoid people when I'm not doing well. It makes me ghost the people I care about and then suddenly contact them again and the cycle continues. I've been called out on it and I'm honest. I'm sure it's hurtful and it makes me feel awful, but I don't know how to be anything but the happy supportive friend that you'll get close to and I'll disappear when I can't be that. Not sure, I'm ghosting my emotions right now, ask again later. I've ghosted, but usually don't get called out. I used to be honest, but having more than one dude call me names for not thinking they were a good match killed that habit. Worst was a dude I'd gone on a couple dates with. He was nice enough, just a little too odd and clingy. Insisted on picking me up, I refused and met him instead. Insisted on driving me to the theater between dinner and the movie. I refused again, then acted weird in the theater, yelling at people if they so much coughed. After the movie, he was bold enough to go for a kiss. I did the cheek turn thing, then left. In the 20 minutes it took me to get home, there were over a dozen texts, each one more frantic than the last because I hadn't replied yet. I immediately noped out, and ghosted. For weeks I got messages before he told me, he thought I was better than this. But then I'd get the odd text like he was testing the water. The weirdest was, Shamrock Shake. Want one, Lexi. I'm very glad he didn't have my home address. Okay, I wouldn't call it ghosting, but I sometimes don't like talking to my mom. We have a very strained relationship and sometimes it's better for my own mental health to just not engage. Anyway, one time I was legitimately at the gym with my trainer and didn't answer. She left a voicemail that said, "You always have your phone on and answer when BF calls or texts. Why do you hate me so much? I am a 32-year-old mother of 3, raising my kids and my boyfriend's son. I'm busy. I'm tired. I just want to be left alone." I only ghosted him after he asked me out and I declined and he became hostile. Then he started throwing more tantrums and eventually went to my friends and asked them to stop being friends with me, so yes, I was wrong for not blocking him immediately. The question, people who are ghosting people. The replies, let me tell you about this time I got ghosted. I'm a ghoster. I feel terrible about it. I mean to write, then time has passed so I have to write something really good, then more time passes but it is around my birthday or a holiday so looks weird if I reach out then. So I communicate daily with you in my head, many apologies and conversations. My anxiety just gets overwhelming. If you contact me I will usually respond to the branch gladly. I've been ghosting this girl I liked and she hasn't noticed because I'm the one who always starts the conversation. I now know that I'm not technically ghosting her, please stop commenting that. It made me feel like shit, to be honest. That's not who I am, but at the time I was going through a rough patch in a relationship and my home life wasn't great either. Being alone felt like the only option at one point until a good friend I ghosted expressed his concerns. I'm currently ghosting this girl that has been manipulating me for months. I was attached to her so much that she could just withhold affection until I did what she wanted. And she had me convinced that the reason she was so stingy with her love was because I was doing something wrong or I just wasn't good enough. I met someone else and I've been giving the first girl the cold shoulder ever since. She FaceTimed me the other night, wasted, crying that I don't love her as much as I used to. I corrected her. That's not true, I actually don't love you anymore at all. She texts and snaps me regularly trying to apologize. I think she means it. But I have no intention of responding and risking letting her back into my life. Rather not have her in my life as a constant reminder of all the suffering I went through because of her abuse. I was ghosted hard. 8-month relationship. Just never came back to my house for his stuff, not a ton, or called me back after promising me he would. Broke my heart. Still had to see his mom at work for months afterwards too. Few months later someone who saw his social media told he had announced a pregnancy, and the timeline added up to when he ghosted me. I guess he thought he was doing the right thing by that girl, but I was really shattered from that.